mandatory spending side, which is, of course, the big portion of if we're talking about the federal budget and growth in government, we're talking about mandatory spending. Well, is working delivering the things that Social Security ought to deliver, or is it the inefficiencies in that particular program? When you starve the beast, you force departments to choose priorities, provided they're given flexibility. When you're trying to be efficient about what works, another example is think about DOD. How do you measure what works? Is it the utility of an Apache helicopter? Is it whether, when you're projecting into future threats? I think there's a lot of things that need to be done, but thinking we can universally apply a concept like Moneyball, sure, we got to be smart, sure, we've got to be more efficient, but I don't know that the incentives will be there in this kind of
to take a more micro example, because I think it's important to sort of personalize this debate. The healthcare argument, I think, really crystallized a lot of this in terms of the Independent Payment Advisory Board and the role that's going to serve for Medicare patients. If these metrics that are put into this equation, if whatever comes out, if the conclusion that is drawn is that a certain treatment, let's say, is not efficient or is not, an effective way of addressing this problem, and Medicare therefore no longer covers that treatment, that is sort of cold comfort to the person who is, dying of whatever particular type of cancer it is and needs that treatment. You can always find somebody
who it worked for.
Right, exactly.
Right? And if it worked for 1% or 2%, there's a political message to build upon, right?
So when you're in professional sports, you have one goal, and that's to win the game, and you need to score runs to do that. We're talking about 300 million potentially different goals.
Well, the other part of this is
possibly be servicing all
not only I showed you the wins and loss column, but also how much money can be spent is a finite number. The Oakland A's couldn't say, well, we had 45 million. Actually, we're going to spend 90 million. They couldn't do that. Our government will do that. We continuously do that. So you're not only dealing with the fact that it's hard to determine whether or not a program is effective, and that's where this whole thing, I think, becomes complicated. What is effective? Is it politically effective? Is it effective based upon dollars in, dollars out? On top of that, you have the notion that the government can continuously spend beyond what the teen cap would be, if you will, in order to get the result, whatever the result may be.
I will say that it has some use, and I think the most fascinating part of these guys' articles, Peter Orszag and John, help me with the two guys that put this together.
Bridgeland.
John Bridgeland. They put this together and they wrote a couple articles in the Atlantic and in Politico. The most fascinating example they did give, by the way, is the Scared Straight program, which is funded federally and goes to different states, where you take children, take them who are on the wrong path, take them to prisons and show them the consequences, show them the criminals in jail. And the actual outcome of that program was those that attended Scared Straight programs committed crimes at a 12% greater rate. So it was pretty clear metric. This one's not working. I think that's a fascinating analysis, but it doesn't escape the problem.
To be fair, there was the Nurse Family Partnership, for example, a community health program that the authors of this editorial, the guys who are running this website, moneyball4gov.com, they said that $5 in, rather for every dollar in, you got $5 out of benefit. This is public spending, essentially intervening at a very young age for infants in order that they have a healthier outcomes later on in life. So there are some examples they gave us. I mean, I don't think we should just throw out the whole thing. It's just this is going to be very tailored, very specific, and very complicated.
Let's be clear as to what we're going to do with this data, though, because it's also, let's say that you have this program, and let's say that crime actually declined in that period, because it did decline over the past several decades. Crime overall, right? So you could, if you're just looking at data and you go, well, we had this program and we had crime going down overall over the same period of time, look, it worked. There are going to be people that are going to not apply the proper tests to how this stuff is going to get used. So I would like to see a sort of Moneyball approach in this, but let's be clear as to what the debate's going to be. It's going to be about priorities. It's not going to be about the efficiency.
I really don't like that they singled out special interests as what needs to be rooted out. It's data as opposed to special interests, because what he's talking about is sort of taking the decisions about how federal money is spent out of the hands of it's our First Amendment right to redress, the right to redress of grievances.
And optically,
so taking that out of the people's hands and putting it into the hands of these equations that technocrats in Washington are churning out, I think is a very
that's a good point. But optically, to channel terror and sort of messaging, I think it's a good thing when conservatives talk about what good governance looks like, what we are for, how government can and ought at times deliver the right, timely, and efficient services. We're very good at starving the beast. We're very good at talking about cuts. We're not so good about what efficient government would look like when it does deliver the services.
We're not actually good at starving the beast.
We're not good at starving the beast. We're good at talking about starving the beast. We're good at talking about it, poor at doing it. But sometimes we should talk a little bit more about how government can more efficiently
I would say that because we've sort of lost the war so far on starving the beast, we're looking at trying to win the battle on spending money a little more effectively.
Any battle, tactics. Any battle.
Anything would be good.
Most of that spending jump was under the Bush administration.
That's true.
You just love to do that, don't you?
Well,
contrarian Randazzo at the very end.
Sorry. Sorry.
All right. Facts, they do get in the way sometimes. This afternoon, President Obama announced his choice to fill the vacant post of Homeland Security Secretary. Pete Hegseth has details when we come back.